Is a Viper trading webinar, and today's date is Monday, December the 11th, 2023. And the title of tonight's webinar is A Game Changer, Clone and Multi-Object Type Trader. This is going to be released very soon, by the way. And as everyone knows, it's been to our webinars or live trading room. Everything that's said and done at Viper Trading Systems is for educational purposes only. Futures trading, Forex trading, any kind of financial instruments trading involves risk. Therefore, there's always risk of loss. You should only trade discretionary capital, and that is money that you can afford to lose. Nothing said in this webinar, other webinars I have, live trading room or anything else with Viper Trading Systems, should ever be construed as trading or investment advice. And as always, everyone does trade at their own sole discretion. All right, let me go ahead and show a chart. I'm going to show you, before I show you a chart, I want to show you something else too. This is an actual trade that I took just actually a little while ago, less than 2 hours now. And what I did is I actually utilized the multi-trader, okay? So what I did is I basically saw this happening where you had a low here, high here, lower low here, but it started breaking, right? So actually I went ahead and put a region here, okay? That's with the multi-trader. And then I actually put in for the contracts here, and then I added with the power dots. Now notice I was in the wrong color background and everything, but the overall trend was still up, okay? So, and notice how beautifully I got out of it too, okay? So this is basically going to be, I personally think it's going to be pretty much a game changer. It's going to make a good difference in a person's trading, okay? Because let me show you on a chart just to give an example. Let's go ahead and go to chart here. Bear with me a second. This is the oil chart right here, okay? Now, what if I said, you know what? I want to take a trend line trade, okay, if it bounces off a trend line, okay? But now this has gone up quite a bit, so we got to watch it because that's 1, 2, 3, okay? So, but could we draw a trend line underneath these lows, like right around this mid-band, for instance? Well, with the new multi-object types, you would be able to do that. Now, one thing, let me go over a couple of house cleaning type things, housekeeping type things. Basically, on these object types, there are several of these that have to use the T and B button. Okay, everybody knows that, right? Top of the box, bottom of the box. So I'm going to highlight these and let you know you can't use them at the same time. See there? Okay, you can't use wedge at the same time. You can use phantom and all that. You can't use predictor above at the same time, or predictor below. Any of those that use the T and B buttons. The only way that we can get around this is if we actually put like long out region, long out predictor, long out like trend line. You see what I mean? So in other words, you'd have to have literally several things, and we just felt that that's just too much. So I really think just like when I took that trade a little while ago, that's going to still give you some good trade setups. The only thing is you can't use the ones that use the T and B buttons except one of them. Okay, so I could either pick a region, an auto region close, or an auto region tick. Okay, one of those three, or I could pick a wedge and not these three, or I could pick a predictor and not any of these, or a predictor above and not any of these, and a predictor below. Okay, and that shouldn't be confusing really, because predictors have always had a top and bottom. That's 3 predictors right there. Your wedge trade has a top and bottom. You know, everybody knows that. So you pull up your wedge like that. You've got a top here, and you got a bottom here. So if you use a different object type, you can't use them at the same time. Okay, see how I just went to trend line, for instance? Okay, so that's the only holdback on this, and I'm not super thrilled about it, but I also see the programmer's dilemma on it too. Because if you literally had this where you could draw like a trend line, for instance, and you could draw a like a region, to give an example, okay, and you could draw, you know, a wedge, how would Object Trader really know to take those trades unless we get this thing so complicated that none of us, including the developer of it, myself, and the programmer that develops, the code, would be able to even use it. Okay, so I just don't think we're going to go there with it. Okay, but it will do a good job to begin with, because what I would do, just to give an example, let's say that we get into a trend line trade right around this midband. Okay, the way you would do that, since this is a T and B button, but this is only a T button, because notice that's a single line. Okay, so if I wanted to trade this, for instance, let's say a touch above, or maybe an inside type trade, which I could also do. If it came like within 2 ticks of that, I can actually tell this that I want to take this trade as soon as it literally touches that line, okay, plus 2 ticks, okay? So that's where the trade would actually end up setting up, okay? Now, once you get into a trade, what I really designed this multi-trader for to begin with is these trades right here, these mid-band trades, the phantom trades, because with those, you're going to use the object types such as mid-band, phantom, power dots, trend power dots, and even the predictors. Okay, so to give an example, let's say that you had watched this trade right here. Okay, and you saw this do a nice thrust and a pullback right into midband. Okay, if you had the midband trader set up and the trend power dot set up and the predictor set up, you would be in 3 contracts right across there. That would actually hit all 3 of those trades. Now, I've developed this to where it's got what's called a single trade entry, and it'll shut everything off, or it's got a multi-trade entry, which means I could actually choose. Let's say that I wanted to choose mid-band, power dots, trend power dots, whatever, and predictor below, okay? If I put this on multi, then this is going to remember to do all 3 of these trades before it shuts your long off, okay? And you would naturally be going long, obviously, because that's stair-stepping mid-band, okay? So I want to kind of go over quite a bit on this tonight, because this is going to be released now very, very shortly, but he's working on 2 things right now, and I'll tell you what they are, okay? Since he did the multiple object types, the exit on close doesn't recognize the different trade types, and it confuses itself with the stop versus the exit on close stop. And that's a real pretty easy fix. He said he'll have it for me in the morning. The other thing that I want him to do is right here, I do not want to be able to select like that, because how's Object Trader going to know which one of those to fire first? Okay, so I'm having it fixed tomorrow where if you choose auto trade, it's going to turn those off. If you choose ST, it'll turn these off. So you'll only be able to choose one of them at a time. Okay, and that's really important, because otherwise it's going to get really, really confusing still. Okay, like for instance, if I wanted a single trade, okay, and I turned on several object types, for instance, I could actually get into a trade with just the very first one that fires. I'll show you what I mean there. Let's say, hopefully this will actually hit midband, but let's just try it. All right, let's say that I choose midband, I choose trend power dots, and I choose predictor below, okay? And I want to do, say, a total of 3, and let's, since that's not very high, let's just go for 10, 10, and 20. And then you can even turn this target off, okay? So that's actually ready to take that trade if I just turn this on. That's all there is to it. I just have to turn this on to LE instead of LD. And then if this triggers, this will get me into whichever one of these fires first. But if I turn it on multi instead, it'll do all 3 of them. Okay, and you can change your, yeah, you're right, you would have to change this. I've thought about defaulting this at 2, but I think I'll probably default it at 3. Okay, the reason for that is because we do like to jump in sometimes with a total of 3. For instance, this trade here, if you were to do this, and let's say you just wanted to make $300 to give an example. What if you just said, you know what? I can do it like this, or I can just simply say, do all 3 on that. See, I turn the other targets off. That way there wouldn't be a runner. It would just be a 3 contract on the first target. Same thing as if you did it on all 3 of these. It's just going to put 3 targets instead, so you can move one. That's the only difference in it, okay? Everybody see what I'm talking about here? So basically, now I could go ahead and use like a region or a trend line plus these trades here. See, because, well, except predictor below, I can't. Okay, see, that's one that uses the T and B button. If I wanted to use something with a T and B button, I might do this instead and do a trend line. Okay, and then I bring my trend line underneath my lows. Let's say, for instance, I want a mid-band trade. I just bring it right there about mid-band like so. And if it tags mid-band within X ticks, it would fire the trade. Okay, so I would have to put this on MT instead. Okay, just like that. All right. This is going to be totally different than what you have because you've actually got a little object box that drops down. We could not get this to do multiple object types inside this panel. There's just something about the way this panel is designed that it just wouldn't let us do it. So we moved the object types over to the top of the chart. Okay, and if somebody never wants to trade this particular system, we could always make the clone like it is available, the number 3.10, but this is 3.26. So it's going to definitely be, a little more upgraded. But if somebody wants to stay with 3.10, that would be fine. Okay. Because I know this can get a little bit more confusing, but I like the idea of being able to jump into, especially around these mid bands, these extra little trade setups, because they do work. Okay, so let's see if we can get a trade based on what we just said there. Now, what we're going to have to do is obviously turn on our long. Okay, so if it does trigger any one of those, it will fire it and it will look for the others also. Okay, we'll just leave that on for just a minute. Hopefully it'll come down. Sometimes when you try to do a webinar, it's like watching paint dry. When I did that trade a little while ago that I showed y'all, that was like watching paint dry. But it did finally get to 450. I had a target up there and it hit it. Let's see, so if we use the trend line on a trade, do we still have to select the little box under LDSD? Yes, because see, even the trend line is still above and below. Okay, so I could even, for instance, I could even say, what, if this gets to where it takes out my trend line, I could actually short it, right? So you could actually use, well, you'd have to use the wedge to do that, truthfully, because this is a T button only. So on a T button only, we're looking for either a break or we're looking for a kiss and bounce. I mean, I could turn this on to short. If it broke the trend line by X ticks, I could do that. Okay. Let's see if we get anything here on this little trade. Now, keep in mind, if this doesn't trigger, one of these other types might. Okay. That's going to be the power of the multi-trader. And I got to make sure that he's got it also fixed up to where you don't have to turn this on first. Because on one of the copies that he gave me last week, you had to turn this on before you turned these on. I think he fixed that. So we're going to test it in real time because the multi-trader CMT should fire the mid-band trade, the trend power dot trade, and the trend line trade, or it'll still leave this turned on. Okay, see how that's kind of coming down a little bit right there? That's our trend line right there. That's where it's going to fire. Let's go ahead and put it above it instead. So we can do that by just simply changing that. And watch when it ticks up, you'll see it kind of come close to that trend line. See if it does. He also worked on that to make that really responsive too, just with a tick. So see, that's where our trade would fire, is right there, if it comes down to it and touches it. Now, if I wanted it at mid-band, all I'd have to do is say, you know what, let's put it like at mid-band, one tick above, something like that. See where the little dash is? This may be hard to see. He made it like a 2 width, but it is still kind of hard to see. So let's see if it actually gets it. And you'll see how the multi-trader can actually work for you. Because like I said, I tested this even earlier on an actual account, and it got 450, and all I did is simply drew a box, and then I used my little power dots, and it worked. I'm going to have to speed this up to see if we're even going to get anything. Let me give it just a little bit more speed. Kind of slow. Let's see, let me answer any questions that are coming in too. Because your trend line goes through the mid-band area, how will you know which one fired? Well, you'll still know which one fired, because you're going to get, if it bounces off a mid-band trade is set to 1 tick, okay? So my mid-band trade could actually fire a little bit earlier. Okay, let's see what it does here just real quick. Predictor might be better than trend line. See it? It's drawing a predictor right here. I kind of like that. Could you change it on the fly? Let's see. Predictor below, long, touch plus 2. See how predictor showed up right there? So now instead of my trend line, I'm trying to get this predictor, and I actually changed it on the fly. Now I haven't gotten a trade yet, but see how you'll be able to do that though? We're going to get it. We'll find out. Now keep in mind, if it doesn't get to the predictor, which it looks like it's not, see what I mean there? Let's go like 3 just in case, because it looks like it wants to bounce there. See it right there where it's trying to tag predictor? There's your trade, okay? Now, that's just one trade, and your object types are still on here, but it looks like because we had turned on the ST, that's where he's got to turn these where they don't go on except one time, because that did not leave that turned on, and I wanted that left on. So that's got to be fixed, and that's one of the things he's working on tomorrow, as a matter of fact. Let's see if we can. It did fire the trend power dot too. That's probably the last one it's going to fire to begin with, because let's see what we got. We got mid-band, trim power dots. Yeah, I'll bet that's all it does. So let's just turn that off. Okay, so we got our stop in. Let's see what it does here. Let's see, I was asking about on the trend line, the ST and MT buttons were what I was asking about on the trend line. Yeah, see, the thing is, on even the trend line, you basically, on the trend line itself, you're going to have the T button only active, and on the wedge, you'll have both of them active. So I could have technically done like a wedge and added even. It looks like we're going to get our 10 ticks. If we do, that shows fairly good trading. Let's just go ahead and tighten our stop just in case. All we want is 10 ticks. Looks like we might get it, might not. We'll find out. Now let me ask you a question. If this doesn't take out 81, pardon me, Where's your line in the sand long short on this chart? Anybody? Because anytime you get to these tops, I always like to draw a line right at the top. See how that predictor's up here? But look how it's already rejecting this top here, okay? Now, if it rejects a top like that, and you get a lower high, then your line in the sand long short's right here, okay? So you could actually even set this up for a breakout type trade, or you could simply say, you know what, you're getting a lower high right now. So what if I use my trend? Okay, we'll turn this off. We don't need these anymore, okay? And then we'll simply turn on require trend. We'll turn on MT, and we'll turn on short. And what we're going to look for is simply the trend power dot to the short side. We'll look for the mid band to the short side, and we'll look for the predictor, which would be a predictor above, to the short side. And now this one we're going to try with MT instead. Okay, so we're going to let it stay on. Hopefully he's got this. I just got a copy this afternoon, so he may have to do some more to this. We'll find out. We've got a predictor above. You want to try a trend line? Let's see if required trend works on the trend line too. I'm just curious. If they break that line right there, could we actually short that trade? And put it at right at the line itself? We'll see. What I'm checking right now is to see if this actually will work with my trend turned on, because I'm still testing this even myself quite a bit. Okay, so I've got required trend on. So let's see if it still lets me break a line and take a trade short. If it doesn't, then that trend really works. Yeah, it looks like it's not. That's good. Okay, so required trend absolutely has to have the trend changed. Okay, see how that did not fire? Now, if I wanted to fire it, what would I have to do? Anybody? I'd have to turn this puppy on. Let's see if we can. I'm going to just for the fun of it, see if they break that trend line. Oops, sorry about that. We get this little line here. There you go. See, I turned that off. So let's see if our object types are still on. So we've got trend power dots, and we're going to turn it back on required trend. See, the reason I put it on required trend is because if we get another trade set up, there we go, we just got a profit target, and see our object type is still set up. See there, because I've got multi-object type set up. So if this actually does do any kind of a mid-band trade, and we'll go ahead and turn on mid-band, and we'll turn on predictor above. Okay, and then we'll turn this on. And then you would just simply see, well, it looks like it is breaking down, isn't it? We'll see if we get a mid-band trade. By the way, could we have turned stealth on? Yes, because stealth will fire on that bar right there. See the red stealth line? That's another trade, by the way, right there. And with stealth, you do not need top and bottom buttons at all. Okay, so basically, you remember what I said when we were getting ready to shut the room down? You can technically just wait for the trade. You know, for instance, this has been heading up, 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 and then it got a lower high right here. Where was the line in the sand long short? It was right here. See, that's exactly the way that's taught. So could you be short under that line? Absolutely. And we did, but we only took 10 ticks. Okay, so let's see. Since we've got three object types, midband, trend dot, and predictor, we're going to let it fire one at a time. And whichever ones it gets, it may get one of them, it may get two of them, we don't know. But see the stair-stepping midband? Let's see if we can get a trade. First time into mid-band after a trend change, 85% probability trade. Don't go chasing it here, by the way. This is a crazy place to chase it right here. Thrust, retrace. It's a higher low than down here. This could even head up, but we'll see if it hits predictor. Now, predictor's way up here on what we call the above predictor, but since it changed the mid-band, you should get a white predictor next. Okay. Let's see, Maz, you had a question. What is AR size? Thank you. AR size is only for the tick one. And truthfully, I don't even like the tick one as much unless I freeze it. Because with a tick type box, it'll never fire the trade unless you freeze the box. So in that case, you can just use a region anyway. Does anybody use that at all? If not, we could even take it out of this version of it. I paid for it to have it built, but it's not exactly what I wanted. I wanted a tick that I could choose like 8 ticks or whatever, and the box would freeze right where I was. And then if it didn't fire, it would go ahead and tick, but still keep freezing so that you could get the trade. The way tick does, I'll show it to you in a few minutes, it does not let you take the trade without freezing the box. Can you go over plus and minus? How do you know how many, Gary? Well, basically, like right now, to give an example, see, we've got a predictor right here, okay? So we're going to try to fire a trade if it gets up here, okay, because we've got our object types turned on, mid-band is turned on, trend power dots is turned on, and predictor above is turned on, okay? So let's see if we can get, and watch how it turns these off. That's about to get a predictor trade, by the way. If it just touches it and then tips down, it'll fire that trade. See there? So, and you fired 2. That's your predictor. And you've got one more. See, that fired 2, though. I don't like the way, I'd rather it just fire 1, but see if it ticks quickly, it can fire both. So let's just do, well, we got 4. Let's just do 4. All right, that's a predictor again, though. But predictor's off. See how predictor went off? Now we're looking for a mid-band trade. Watch it be a missile instead. Somebody commented in the box. It could be. We'll find out. I just want to see how the thing fires. So mid-band, the way you do a mid-band trade, you can actually do like touch plus or something like that. We could even set it for like 2 ticks in, and then the bar closes, it'll fire it. Didn't get it just then because it missed it, didn't get the 2 ticks. So you're in 2, that's okay. See if we get the others. This multi-trader I'm really liking, because see, when you get these mid-band trades, why not throw in a couple of contracts, but let it do both trades? There's a mid-band trade. See if it fires. There's mid-band. That's a mid-band trade. See how it fired? That's the way a mid-band trade works. Now, the only one we haven't fired is the trend power dot. Notice here? Well, our mid-band said it fired, but it's still on. And it turned it off. That's not good. I'll make sure to check that with him. It's got to leave those on, you know, and I've talked to him several times on that. Said in multi-mode, it has to leave those trades on, period. Because there we go, that was your mid-band. Let's see, and that's all we're going to get. Okay, that's how that little trader will work. Now, should we be in 4 contracts? Well, let's just go ahead and put how about a region now, and put the region to where, hey, if it goes even above there, take 2 off just in case, because we don't want to be in 4 if it decides to check that resistance right there. See what I mean? So I can actually use that to even get in this trade just strictly on the region, but I want to put my other one turned off, okay? So now I'm in my trade. See how that works? And that did a mid-band. It evidently did two of them. It didn't do the trend power dot, but it did do the predictor. Okay, now if we would have checked our fib, we might not have gone in those just yet, but let's see what it was, just for the fun of it. Yeah, see, that was a 50 right there. Perfect trade. But trade's working out. See there? It's not a bad way to trade, everyone. I think that this is going to turn out to be a really good feature for everybody. Now, when you get up pretty nicely, obviously, you want to get rid of some coin, draw on your charts, and there you go. You just got one left. See how that works? Pretty cool. Now, what if I said, you know what? What if I wanted to add back to this and said, okay, how about power dots? And I want to go for a short power dot to add one. Okay, that would be a white power dot. Now, when you get a power dot, you don't know just yet, but we'll watch and see. If you do get one, it'll add a contract. Okay, so we'll turn that off. We don't need our region anymore. We'll see if we can get a trend or a power dot. And by the way, it's got another feature on it called auto. And you can actually choose like require trend. Let's say that I wanted to do auto instead. And every time it hits a white power dot, I'll add a contract. We'll just do one. So if you get a white dot, it would add a contract. If you get another white dot, it would add another one, and so on. And you could just watch your P&L. See, this is coming up a little bit. Let's see if we get a power dot at all. White power dot will get you in. And here in a bit, I'm taking a little bit of time to show you some of these features because I want you to see the power that you can actually get with this. And if you've got any suggestions, I mean, we'll even keep it off the table for a few more days and see if it can be coded even somewhat differently as far as that goes. But the only thing that I'm not super thrilled is that I can't use a region, a predictor, and like a trend line, because I really like to fire a trade based on those breaks. That's fairly important to me. So I'm going to talk to him again tomorrow and see if there's a way, maybe we can use two of them, just not all of them. You get to choose two. And then Object Trader hopefully can figure that out. But I can see his point. If you use trend line, used wedge, you used region, you know, that would get awful confusing for it. See if we get a little trend dot. We hadn't got one yet, a little power dot. Got trend turned on, so we're not going to go with green ones, just going with the shorts. And if it goes back up, then we'll get out of it. But we're just in one, so you know, if you like to use those power dots, they can be pretty good. See if we get a power dot at all. It's close to one. Probably on that bar. It's a little later than there you go. So you just got one. That was kind of a quick thrust. But that still only shows we're short one. So let me look here at the positions. Yeah, it only shows one. So somehow that quick movement messed us up. Let's get it back in kilter. Now we got a power dot. We're going to still go with the power dot if we get another one. Now, where would our stop be, anybody? How about the white power dot? That's a swing. Just put it just a little bit above it, just in case. We need a lower high. And if it gets us, it gets us. We don't care because we've got our swing in. We know where it's going to hit its head if it's going to continue down. Okay, can you go over plus and minus math? Well, basically, I need to probably direct you to a couple of webinars that I've done on that. But a plus and minus simply means, let's say that you had a region, okay? The bottom of the region is right there. The top of the region is right there, okay? So when we talk about plus or minus, you can actually take a trade when it touches the bottom of that region. You can take it when it touches +2. You can take it when it touches +3, close plus, anything you want with these little buttons right here, okay? Same thing with the top of it. But what if the market was chopping around and you saw it, kind of hitting the bottom, going up 10 ticks, hitting the bottom, going up 10 ticks? Well, you can actually go to what's called long inside and actually get your trade at the very bottom of a region too. There was another trade just fired too, didn't it? Let's see if it's still on. Yep. Now be careful if you do this because we want this to stair step down. We do not want it taking out our stop because now we're in 3 contracts. So when you're in 3 contracts, be much more careful, okay? Because you could evaporate that $950 if you put your stop like way up here. You don't want to do that. You want to keep it nice and tight where that swing is. And if it takes it, it takes it. I do not care, okay? Before we wrap, I'm going to show also how you can use this. My son doesn't have this yet. Nobody has this yet besides myself and the programmer, because we just haven't been totally finished with it as of yet. It's still got a few little things that I want, like that fast movement right there. Why didn't that fire on my that first white dot? Because it pushed real quick. Now in playback, that could be just that the price wasn't really there. That's a possibility. Well, that was close to taking us out, you little turkey. All right, let's see if we can get, well, we're already in 4, so we can't get any more, right? So it doesn't matter if this is on. Now it does matter though if I hit a target. Watch it, this will still stay on so that you can get even more trades. If you hit a target, it would look for another one because you got your total set at 4. Okay, let me show that little painting that I had just a little while ago. Let me go to my desktop here real quick, and I'll get the, yeah, it's called Untitled here. Okay, notice that this was done virtually that same way. Okay, see, you basically had a region set up right here. It fired. Okay, so you got in 2. Okay, it looks like even a 3rd one on that region because it was set for auto at the time because I was checking it out. And you pull back a little bit, got in again on these little green dots. See them right here? Got in on that bar right there. And these didn't get in because they were already in. See it right there? So it's not a bad way to trade. Because keep in mind with 4-range charts, we get a lot of chopping around. So you can add contracts as long as you're on the right side of a trade. Okay, be careful scaling in because, well, look at that. It's kind of important. Now see, we're in 3 now. Now what's the difference? If you do get another white power dot, it will add a 4th contract because it's still got power dots on. Now you don't know if you're going to get one though, but let's just leave it on for the fun of it. See what we get here. Multi-trader. So basically, let me go over while we're kind of in this trade right now. You have what's called auto trading. Now, auto trading is going to just simply every single time those dots are hit, it will fire. If you're in what's called multi-trading, like so, it will only fire whatever you have up here. In other words, multi-object type. So, for instance, if I wanted, let's say even predictor below. Let's just fire a trade if it takes out the predictor even. So you can even do that because if it takes out that predictor, now that's a long ways down there, so you probably wouldn't do this in real time, but let's watch and see if it fires. because you're in 3. Let's see if that goes with 4, if it breaks that predictor. These predictors, see, they draw on the predictor itself. Now notice my target's out of kilter again. Let me see what's causing that. We'll go to orders. Yeah, you've only got 1 left on, and it shows 3, so he's got to fix that. So we've already seen that's going to be an issue, because you've actually got 1 position. No, you've got 3 positions on, so it's right here, but it's wrong on the targets. That's what he's going to have to work on. I'll show you here. I knew there was something else with the targets that he's got to work with. So I'll show him at 7:40 on my webinar, and he can fix that. Because see right here, see where it says stop market 4 and limit of 1. So that's wrong, but the positions is right. See there? So he's got to fix this. That's one thing about this. This can't just go out like the other things that we've done over the past because of the multi features of it. It's got to all mesh together. You know, this is correct, this is not correct. See your target, see how it says warning target quantity not equal to position? Well, that's not good, but yet your stop is at 3, okay? Now let's look on the orders and see if the stop's at 3. The stop market, yeah, it's 4 right now. That's 4, not 3. Okay, so I'm showing you some things right here that will have to be fixed, okay? Because what this did by going from auto trade to multi-trade, that confused object trader. So that's got to be fixed. So if I ever run into this type of thing like this, I would get out of trades pretty quick, put my stop nice and tight just in case. Make sure that if you do hit your stop, it gets you out of just the 3 that you're in. Well, you're in 4 now, never mind, you're good. Okay, so it's going to be very important, even if we get this thing totally working the way we want it to, because you've also got that issue with rhythmic. What if you tried to get in a trade and you had one account that was not tradable and rhythmic says, no, you can't trade that? Okay, we've got to be able to discern that within the script. So he's working on that also as we speak. Okay, but anyway, you can see the power of this thing can be pretty good. We've just got to get all the kinks out of it. And the kinks that I see are not real major, because I could still manage this trade pretty well. You know, matter of fact, I'd be taking probably 1 off, 2 off possibly, turn this off, make sure nothing's firing anymore, and just ride the runners. Wouldn't you? I mean, you don't have to hold this trade all the way back to mid-band. So we've still got to manage our own trades and everything, but you know, with this actually showing only 1 target though, once it hits it, let's see if it flattens it. I'm just curious. Or if it just takes 1 off. Because if it takes just 1 off, it just means we don't have a target left, but we're still in a short trade. Okay. So I've showed the programmer several things on here. One of them, let me show you this while we're in here. See this? This is actually a regular stop, but if I put this on exit on close, okay, notice that my stop's at 3, which is not right. See there? That's not even correct. So he's working on that as we speak, because if I move this, see, it corrects itself, but now it's on this stop. And he asked me, he said, well, isn't that the one that's at your broker? I said, yeah, but you don't want your stop there. You want your stop, you know, here, which is your exit on close. See, now that went to 12, but notice that I'm at break even. But that's 12, so that's the wrong stop. This stop is your, basically your exit on close stop. This is your, pardon me, yeah, this is the one that if you close above, it kills your trade. But if you lost power, this is the stop that's at your broker. you'll notice on the stop is at 71.12. Okay, that's up here. Okay, but that one that's at the broker, we still want the stop to say it's right here, which right now would be 0. See what I mean? So he's working on that as we speak, and that may fix some of our other problems too, simply because if the stops are off, that the targets could be accordingly. So like I say, it's not quite ready, but we're getting there. Okay. But this will mean that you'll have a pretty powerful little trader though. And let me go ahead and go to some live data because I want to show you some things just real quick, because this is just showing how this thing's going to trigger. So I'll just go ahead and close it out. You can flatten all even or just close it. Let's see if it flips the other way. Just curious. No orders in and no positions, so you're flat. Okay, so let me go ahead and go to regular data real quick. Just one sec. Bear with me a moment. I'll just go to that newest account that I got through that fast track deal. Let me see if this is real quick before. Yeah, this is clear back in December 4th. So I'm just going to start a new chart real quick. Just one second. When you do playback, that always does that. It's the weirdest thing in the world to me. What'd you think of that gold earlier today, though? Wasn't that a monster trade? Bear with me one second. I put 1 minute data on my chart. Range bars. Let me show you something right here. This is kind of like what my son and I took this morning when he got in this trade right here. See how you can tell this is actually happening, everyone? If you draw on your charts, you'll be able to see with lightning. Let's just draw lightning and you'll see it. So we had literally a flip area right across here before it ever got there. Okay, so when we took this mid-band trade that faked us right up here, I'll show it to you, right there. Wouldn't you think that was a legitimate trade? Absolutely, right? So you box it in, right? And it went down a little bit. And then what did it do? It got a higher low, took out 71, 72 area right here, and then kissed it. See that kiss right there? That's why you draw on your charts. Now, could you have gotten this trade also because it broke it? Absolutely. We take that trade all the time in the room. Okay, but there's your trade right there, that beautiful mid-band. So let me ask you a question. If you had, let's say that you got up at 6 o'clock instead and you said, this market's already gone down, it's ridiculous, give me a break, and then you see it rolling over like this with like multi-trader object types, could you turn on mid-band, predictor, and the trim power dot and watch what happened? No dots of any kind, pulls back into predictor, fires your mid-band trade, your trend power dot trade, and off it went. See there? That's why I designed this little trader right here, was for these trend changes to get in some of these trades like this. This makes a monster trade setup. Okay, and you'll see this time and time again. And then what did we get when we opened the market? We got this choppy, absolutely junky garbage. Remember what happened this morning? You get in a trade, they give you 6 or 7, 8 ticks, and boom, right back in your face. And then they gave this stuff right here, choppy sideways. And then we closed the room. Everybody remember what I said, that the market would move when we closed the room? That's what happened when we closed the room. It broke line in the sand long short. You got a monster trade down. And then after a while, you actually got a trend change. See right here? Right across here, you got a trend change. And then you got another one. This one actually, if you boxed it in, you got short in through here, or at least here. See it on the left? And you got a nice trade there. But then these silly rascals actually, if I remember right, even took it up after that. See there? Isn't that unreal? And the way we like to trade, and isn't it amazing? We sat there through all that choppy, absolute garbage, and I told you it would move after the room closed. And it did. Matter of fact, I got that one account that I was trading that was $800 with my son. I got it to a little over $1,750. And that was just simply trading the short, trading this long here when it got this high, low, higher, high, boom, long trade. You had a short trade here. I think I was with somebody at that time. But this little trade right here, see where it started breaking up above your swing? Low, high, lower, low, breaks up above it, off it goes. Always got to look to the left to trade the right. And you'll see time and time again where these things will break up, even before they change colors. So again, that's why I added these features like this, because to give an example, if you turned on in this trade here, you would have never gotten a mid-band, you would have never gotten a trend power dot, you would have never gotten the predictor. But what if you turn these power dots on? You got to trade here, 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 and here, and here even. So those can be powerful too, okay? But isn't that amazing that they just literally ran it after we closed the room? That's just the way they do. Okay? Anybody have any questions on anything? Let's look at gold just real quick, because gold was called this morning, and it was a literal monster. That's weird. This one's acting strange. Just one second. All right, here we go. Let me back this up just real quick. Let me ask you a question. We start the room out, okay? You're lying in the sand long shorts right here, called it in the room, looking left to trade the right. So when they come up and they roll over, this was that phantom trade we talked about right there. See how that would get that trade, that little red power dot right there? And that turned out to be a very decent trade. It did not take you out. It came close. But then they took it down pretty solid. But if you didn't even take that trade that was right at 8 o'clock when the market opened, then you had several. Could you, with a stair-stepping midband, turn on the new little multi-trader and say, you know what, if you come to midband or you come to a trend power dot, I'll take you. And see, that came close to midband, but it definitely did a predictor. That's what we say, predictor, power dot, and your midband. So that got that trade. That got that trade. And this trade was also called in the room this morning at midband. And that shouldn't have stopped you out, because there's your swing that should hold, and see how it held, and then it rolled over. See, that trade was called. That trade was called. So if you got just a few of these trades on gold, the phantom trade, the predictor trade, the midband trade that didn't get stopped out, still rolled over, that was a monster day. Okay? So learn to see this on your charts, and you'll do a lot better. And then also, when you see it change trends, then get ready to go the other way. But until it does, look at this. Phantom, even when we were getting ready to close the room down. Midband trade as we were closing the room down. Could these trades with the multi-trader, there's a predictor trade, a midband trade, and a trend power dot trade, probably a good 10 ticks. There's another predictor trade, another one right here. You know, of course, you could hold this trade. Not everybody just gets in and out of trades. You know, there's sometimes you just got to hold them a little bit, at least to line 6. And look at that trade. That trade, even after we closed the room, gold just went nuts today. So just remember, it's just basically a trader that you're going to have to watch. It's just a manual type trader, and you're going to want to watch it. Now what's going on right now? Look at this. Low, high, higher, low, higher, high, higher, low. They break this area right here. I'll bet you they head up. Where's resistance at? Well, resistance is right here. You could just put it at mid-band. Charles used to like to put it at line 5, kind of box it right across here. And if it breaks it, take it, because that's higher lows, and there would be your target right there. Let's see if it actually did it. Just curious. No break. Lower low. Lower high. Uh-oh, it's starting to. That's breaking. There you go, 10 ticks. And you'd want to protect your coin at that point, right? Because that's not counter trend, because it actually broke the line in the sand long short. Let's see what it did. Just curious. Wow. A little pullback. Line 6 is you're out, or you could hold it with your swing. Swing's down here. And that would be out for sure because it double topped at a predictor. Okay? So what you could do is if you get a break like this and you don't get back down to mid-band, you could still, on your little trader, you could simply turn on your power dots instead of your trend power dot, or turn them all on, and then whichever fires, you take it, because this trade would fire right here. And turned out to be a pretty nice trade, it looks like. And you had several right here too that would be good. So I think you'll like it. I mean, I showed that little picture just a little while ago, and I took that one actually just based on this same little trader. And what I did is I turned on, when you use power dots, it'll also take these green ones in a red background. You know that, right? In other words, if you have your object trader turned on, every one of these is called a power dot, okay? So in other words, it would take this trade here, 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 and so on, if you were choosing power dots. Now, if you're using trend dots, it would only take the blue ones, this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one, okay? So in other words, you wouldn't have got filled up here, but keep in mind we take breakout trades too. So could you have had a region sitting here with the new multi-trader? And yes, you could. Okay, so I would say we can all get pretty nicely green with it because the proof's in the pudding. All you got to do is trade it. And that was actually on the little account that I got from Ninjacators. I'll show it to you real quick just so you'll see it. See there, I just traded it. It's a performance account with them. They've got the training accounts. I'm not going to, well, I shouldn't say this on tape to begin with because you do sign things when you're with them. But I could tell you this, that Apex beats them all to pieces on the profit target on this is 7,500, I think it is. And the drawdown's only 2,000. So that's going to be a pretty tough one. And it's not at the end of the day. It's intraday, just like Apex. So the only reason that I got these is because they gave them to me for free. They gave me 3 of them because I'm actually inner circle with them and stuff like that. Okay, so I traded it just for the fun of it. You can see I drew down only $22.20, and that's the trade right there. Okay, and that was done with the new trader. Okay, pretty cool. And how did I know to use that trader? Because it took out the swing to the left. I can't move this line. It's a picture. But you can see the swing it took out. Boom, you're in. Pull back a little bit, added. Not a bad way to trade, I'm here to tell you. I mean, was this getting higher lows and everything? Started stair-stepping up, didn't it? Okay,